A different world cannot be built by indifferent people. We must all work to bring about positive societal change. Hi, I'm Carrie-Ann Smith, and you're now tuned into Jamaica Magazine. On the pages today, we'll be taking a cashless ride using the new JUTC Smarter Card. Also, issues and answers about what tobacco smoke does to your health and why the ban on smoking in specified public places is important. Stay with us.
Your hearts with a smile, lift up your feet with a dance, lift up your spirits with a song. It's family time, it's family time, it's family time.
The Jamaica Urban Transit Company is delivering world-class service using technology as a driver for efficiency, sustainability, and growth. With the aid of a smarter card and a cashless ride, JUTC is changing the way we travel. Hop on for the journey.
The world and the way we live as human beings are constantly evolving towards new targets of efficiency. Technology is a driving force behind the new social order. And as part of the developments, an emerging cashless society is rolling out in full force. From buying goods to paying for services, everything is becoming electronic and automated, even in transportation. The Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, designed to operate as a centrally managed state-of-the-art public bus service, is up to the time with the technologies and is taking its customers on board.
Many of the first world countries and other countries that are far more developed than Jamaica have chosen to go this automated route.
As of June 1, 2014, the JUTC is a cashless service.
This means that no commuter will be allowed to pay cash to take any of our buses.
The new electronic fare collection system utilizes a smarter card, an upgrade on an early attempt to go cashless. The new card is easy to use. Commuters simply swipe it on the card evaluator installed in the bus and select the option for the desired fare. The amount is deducted and a ticket is printed.
The receipt will have things such as the driver's number. It will have the date of purchase. It also has the time of purchase. It also has the balance that would be on your smarter card.
All of this makes for a fast way to go about your business and less distractions for the bus operators, whose safety is also being improved with the new system.
The drivers themselves would be normally collecting the fares of the passengers, and this can amount to large volumes of money sometimes. So for safety, we recognize that this is the way to go.
And since commuters need not walk around with cash for fares, it's also a deterrent to pickpockets. JUTC is also expecting its operators to now have more time for improved customer relations without the worry of keeping track of money. Ahead of the June 1 crossover to the cashless system, the JUTC acquired and began distributing over 60,000 smarter cards to the public. Distribution outlets have been strategically located within JUTC's operating zones.
We want to ensure that every commuter, once they so desire, can easily access a smarter card.
Cards are in circulation at JUTC sales offices in the corporate area, including the JUTC Spanish Town lay-by in St. Catherine and the Halfway Tree Transport Center and East Parade office in Kingston. There is no cost for the card itself, and application is easy.
There is a form, simple form that you fill out. It has a profile that will be created for you, and that profile is what will be reflected on the card every time you use it. The areas of the profile sheet include things such as your name, your age, your occupation, and most importantly, your date of birth.
Your smarter card comes blank, and you will need to put an amount of your choice on it and top up after.
We're advising the traveling public that you put on what would be the equivalent of a round trip. So it is advisable if you're an adult, for example, you put $200 on. That would be the equivalent of a round trip. If you're a child or any of our special groups, then you would put on a minimum of $40, which constitutes a round trip.
Children up to 11 years of age are issued with a child card, which means that they can access the concession fare 24/7. Children between the ages of 12 and 20, once in uniform and with an ID, pays the concession fare as well. Over 12 to 20 with a student card will pay the full fare on a weekend.
Top up as your pocket allows, up to a maximum of $20,000. Special groups, including children, the disabled, and the seniors, pay a concessionary rate of $20 with the Smarter Card. Have you got your Smarter Card yet? Get it now. And if you already have it, then start using it. Persons who wish to find out more about the Smarter Card can call the JUTC head office at 749-319229 or the Smarter Card hotline.
Stop smoking around me! Without cigarettes, the world will be much better. Smoking is bad for your health, and when grown-ups smoke around us, we are breathing in their smoke too.
Cigarette smoking is bad for your health and the health of those around you. Don't smoke around children. A message from the Pan American Health Organization.
It robs people of their health, wealth, and life. There's a good reason tobacco or cigarette smoking is called the silent killer. That same reason is what inspired government to make it illegal to smoke in specified public places. Find out more next. Gains are expected for Jamaicans in the long term as people become more aware and conform to the ban on smoking in public places. These smoking restrictions are an important step towards reducing the health risks as well as the financial strain on the individual and the public purse. It's predicted that cancers and cardiovascular diseases are expected to be reduced in the next 3 to 5 years as a result of this control measure. And so far, support has been encouraging.
I am pleased to note that the smoking ban regulations enjoys 83% support among you, the members of the Jamaican public.
And the public will be able to breathe easier in a number of areas. These include public transportation, workplaces, government buildings, health facilities, sport and recreational facilities for use by the public, educational institutions, areas specifically for use by children, and places of collective use such as bus stops. While the restriction puts a stop to smoking in these places, it is hoped that those who smoke will be encouraged to quit the habit and potential smokers won't start in the first place. However, those who choose to light up may still do so, as long as they are not infringing on the right of others to breathe smoke-free air.
One of the things that I'm so happy about is the smokers who have been interviewed, and at least 7, 8 out of 10 are saying, I am glad for this thing because it's a long time I want to stop smoke, but it's hard.
By reducing exposure to secondhand smoke, the risk of cancer and other tobacco-related illnesses will be greatly reduced. Scientists tell us that there are over 4,000 harmful chemicals in tobacco, most of which silently poison the body. Among the more lethal, arsenic, a chemical used to make rat poison, carbon monoxide released in car exhaust fumes, and nicotine used as an insecticide. The effects on the body can be immediate and can persist in the short, medium, and long term.
10% of persons who die from tobacco exposure are persons who have never smoked themselves. A national study showed that 4 out of 10 students live in homes where others smoke. Nothing can be fair about that.
It causes numerous health problems in infants and children, including severe asthma attacks, respiratory infections, ear infections, and sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. Exposure to secondhand smoke also increases the risk of heart disease by as much as 30%.
It increases the risk of having a fatal heart attack and increases a non-smoker's risk of developing lung cancer by 20 to 30%. The smoking ban also provides protection for workers on the job, which covers any space used by someone for employment purposes or in their trade or business. Fines and custodial sentences can be imposed on organizations that fail to comply with the regulations after the 6-month period from July 15, 2013, when the law came into effect. Under Section 15 of the Public Health Act, if a company breaches the regulation, a fine of up to $1 million can be imposed. The government is urging compliance and partnership as it seeks to deliver on its commitment to safeguard the nation's health and reduce premature deaths from non-communicable diseases (NCDs) by 25% by the year 2025. Statistics indicate that approximately 1 out of every 6 deaths is due to NCDs, mainly cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, hypertension, and cancer. Data also show that the cost to administer medical treatment for some NCDs, like cancer, averages as much as $3.6 million. With the ban on smoking in specified public places now in full effect, the improved air quality that will result will lead to reduced prevalence of NCDs. For clarification on any aspect of the ban on smoking in public places, you may call the Ministry's hotline at 1-888-537-6885 or 967-0306. You may also send an email to huttonv@moh.gov.jm or adrianb@serha.gov.jm. For smokers who want to kick the habit, counseling is available through the National Council on Drug Abuse, the Jamaica Tobacco Coalition, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, and the Jamaica Cancer Society. The Ministry of Health, prohibiting smoking in specified public places, preserving the good health of the nation.
How well do you know your child? What he or she likes or dislikes? Favorite food or color? How about who their friends are? Make the time. Get to know your child. It helps to build their relationship. Makes it easy to keep them safe, and it helps their development process.
The fight is on against one of the biggest public health threats the world has ever faced. It's the tobacco epidemic killing nearly 6 million people each year. Victory demands international efforts. Jamaica has been doing its part in tackling the issues and providing some answers to protect the health of our people. More on this next.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we talk about tobacco, the tobacco control measures which Jamaica has put in place, and the struggle for tobacco control internationally. We're honored to have with us this evening the head of the Convention Secretariat of the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. Yes, that's long. Dr. Haik Nicogosian, and he'll be shedding some light on issues to do with tobacco. We thank you so much for your company. Dr. Nicogosian, welcome to Jamaica.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Good to have you on Issues and Answers. First, you could give us an idea of what is happening in the world in terms of tobacco control. How is that struggle?
Thank you. You might know that tobacco is one of the biggest killers possibly in the human history, if not the biggest. It's a paradoxical product, tobacco, which kills people if it's even consumed as it should be consumed.
Kills its best customers.
Yeah, that's very interesting product, and I wonder how still it is allowed to be legally sold. But that is the reality that is already very well established in the markets. It's highly addictive. That's the reason why tobacco is so well spread. Yes. But it's also true that the world recognized the danger of tobacco already about 50 years ago. Tobacco control measures have started, and they culminated in in 2003 in the adoption of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which is the first ever global health treaty. There was no other public health treaty in the global health history. Now, you may ask why tobacco became the first public health treaty. Most probably because, first of all, governments felt that they are losing control of this epidemic. It really became epidemic. It went unchecked in mid-90s, and particularly because of the globalization, which then resulted in direct trade investments and trade liberalization, and then tobacco really benefited from this, that it went unchecked, cross-border, etc. Suddenly, then realization came that it became a epidemic which is mostly driven by transnational factors, not anymore just a national phenomenon.
Transnational factors.
Transnational. So if something is driven by mostly transnational factors, advertising, smuggling, transnational companies, etc., then the realization came that then you need the transnational instrument to combat transnational problem. You cannot anymore combat transnational problem with national instruments only. And that is when the governments realized that the power which was put in the WHO's constitution, right at the beginning of when the WHO is established, that among any other instruments, conventions also could be negotiated, but which was never used for 50 years. Governments decided to use that power at that time, and that tobacco became the first example to be regulated at this. So this is the first time when public health is operating at the level of international law, you may say.
And what are the main features of this convention, this framework?
First of all, it aims to reduce the demand for tobacco by a range of measures, for example, raising taxes and making it less affordable, educating public, banning advertising, or helping the people who already smoke to quit, etc. There is also a group of measures which is called measures to reduce the supply of tobacco, contracting smuggling, regulating the sales, particularly sales to minors, and also helping the tobacco growers to switch to other crops, for example. Those are let's say, the two biggest groups of the measures, supply and demand. But there is also the third dimension of the convention, which is more horizontal rather than vertical, that is the international cooperation. So unlike in any other public health areas where the international cooperation is seen as a supportive mechanism to other measures, here international cooperation is an obligation in itself. So the countries not only are obliged to implement all those measures which I just mentioned, but they have obliged also to cooperate with each globally and internationally, to exchange the expertise, to support each other, and also to exchange information on these matters. So that is very important, because the fundament of this thinking is that tobacco is a global problem, and so it needs a global solution. Even if you are a very devoted country, you cannot solve the problem of tobacco in your own country only if there is no global coordination, because it's a global phenomenon.
Yes. And what are the kinds of support that the WHO would give to a country like Jamaica, for example?
Well, there is a technical assistance. Also, what we do, also we help the countries to analyze the implementation progress and then come up with assessments of the needs of the country. We also help the countries to get support from existing international donor resources, which exist. You only need to kind of tap into the success, but for that you need to have a very well-established needs and gaps and very motivated kind of projects, let's put that way. So that's, and then of course WHO on the convention, I'm secretariat, I'm representing, we also have our own modest resources, including funding resources to support the countries. But that is not the main reason. The main issue is that the government itself needs to find a sustained way of sustaining its policies, and when there is a need for support, they need also to request for the support which is normally available.
Yes, yeah. We're going to take a break, Dr. Negosian, but when we come back, I'd like to ask you your own assessment of Jamaica's efforts at tobacco control. We're speaking to a highly important person in the global fight against tobacco, the fight to maintain health. And he'll be right back to continue this discussion.
Smoking, it's bad for your health. There's nothing cool about this habit. Tobacco smoking is a silent killer that will snare you in a horrific cycle of addiction that robs you of your money and your health. And it's not just you who suffers. Those around you who inhale the smoke are also at risk, your friends and loved ones. So stop if you've started, or resist before you begin the habit. Stay healthy.
We're talking tobacco control today, and we have with us the head of the convention secretariat of the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, Dr. Haik Nicogosian. And I'd asked at the break, Dr. Nicogosian, about your assessment of Jamaica's efforts at tobacco control.
Thank you. Jamaica became a party to this convention in 2005, relatively early. And to be honest, the progress was not impressive over years and years. There was no really systematic effort to implement the convention. What we fortunately see during the last at least 2 years, very strong effort to implement this convention and to protect people of your country from the devastating effect of tobacco. That is very strong approach which the health ministry and the government have taken. And I would like to congratulate, using this opportunity, of the government and the health minister personally for taking this very strong stand. Some important tobacco control measures are now regulated by the Special Government Act. Particularly, there will be very strong health warnings on the cigarette packages. The smoking will be prohibited in almost most public places, for example. Those are very strong measures which normally the governments, strong tobacco control countries take. But of course, there are many measures which still need to be regulated and legislated. And one of my advice I was expressing this day and yesterday to your authorities is that most probably the best choice will be to go to strong comprehensive tobacco control bill to be passed in the parliament.
And what will be some of the features of that?
Rather than going piecemeal, one by one, because tobacco convention is one package, the package of international law. So the logic is that if you implement international law, the best way, the most direct way to implement international law is through a national law. You need to translate that international law through national law. And this should be motivated not only by public health concern, but also by the fact that Jamaica has international obligations to implement that treaty. And the second important issue is, of course, to bring the whole of government to back this treaty, because it's important thing to realize that international treaties are not ratified by the field ministries. This treaty is not ratified by the health ministry. We cannot leave them alone in this issue. And the other ministries need to back up the health ministry, not only because they would like to help the minister. It's not a favor. They need to take their share of responsibility, because it's international obligation of the country. That's why a strong national coordination mechanism among the ministries, such as the trade, economy, finance, agriculture, social sector, etc., whoever have a strong role in implementing different telecommunication, information, education, all those are the ministers who should be strongly involved in many elements of implementing this convention. And that's why this is very important. So you need a comprehensive law, most probably, and also strong national coordination mechanisms.
Yes. By the time this interview is aired, you would have given your lecture on the politics of tobacco control, because you understand the kinds of resistance that health ministers and states encounter when they want to implement tobacco control measures. Our own ministers shown significant courage in pushing back against the tobacco lobby. Tell us about the kinds of obstacles that governments in the real world encounter when they try to implement international treaties of this sort.
And of course, there are several myths around this, and the most important myth is utilized and or used and misused is the trade and economic factor.
Yes.
So this is good for economies, this is good for jobs,
taxes, tax take,
etc., etc. It's absolutely unfounded. First of all, we have to understand that the revenue tobacco brings is not comparable, which it takes from the society. Costs. The health cost, social cost, lost lives, lost people who lost their lives and they don't contribute anymore to your economy, etc., etc. The deprived families, you know, the people who are addicted and then smoking the good part of their budget to tobacco, not because they would like to, but because they are simply addicted, and they are addicted by the absolutely aggressive policies of the tobacco industry. How we can speak about the choice of people? Sometimes industry speaks about that. What kind of choice you have? You can have a choice over a normal product. Then you select whether to buy that product or not. But the tobacco is not a normal commodity. It is heavily addictive. If you addict people, how then you can speak about the choice? He doesn't have any choice. He's addicted. You addicted, and then now you speak about the choice. So it's another myth.
Yes.
The other myth is that, you know, if the trade of tobacco diminishes, then it will be lost economic activity for the country. There will be, you know, very bad consequences. It's absolutely not true, because the money which is not spent on tobacco will be spent on something else. It will not disappear from the society. The money is there. Now, if you don't pay tobacco, you will pay for education of your child, you will pay better food. But tobacco-related jobs in the society there is no any country except a very few countries in Africa who have done more than 1-2% of the jobs dedicated to tobacco. I mean, if you took that in this perspective. Secondly, we should also understand they will not be lost quickly, etc. It will take time and time and time. There is a time to adjust to that. At the end of the day, we have to understand this is a product which kills. Why the economy should be addicted to a product which kills? So not only the people are addicted to that product, but economies are being addicted. So is it good? Is it ethical to expect that the product which kills, the sales of that product will feed your economy, and that will be the main or principal source of your economy? It's not good. I think the economies can run without that harmful product. The money spent on tobacco should be spent and will be spent on something else. The economies will not be worse from that, and the people will not be killed. This is the truth we have to understand. So these arguments which are brought, jobs, economies, you know, devastation for trade economies, etc., they are not true. That absolutely they are not unfounded.
So you would urge civil society groups to back the minister, to back the government in their quest to control tobacco use?
Yes, civil society needs to back the government, because civil society also can do a lot, you know, in this fight. It's not only the government, the society. And then I'm very encouraged to hear that there is a strong public health support now in your country for tobacco control. I was told that more than 80% people now, which means that not only the non-smokers, but also a big part of smokers support strong tobacco control policies. That is the biggest achievement. That is unstoppable. Once you reach that moment when, you know, the majority of the society supports tobacco control, then tobacco control is unstoppable. You know, the tobacco is being denormalized gradually. I mean, that has happened in last 10, 15 years. It was a social norm. It's not anymore. If you see that it's not anymore, not only in your country, I think that is the big success of tobacco control movement, which had happened over the recent years. So my encouragement to your country, to your government, is to keep this very good momentum, to not lose the speed. Very good speed is taken. Many measures still are to be implemented. They will need possibly strong legislative backing from the parliament. Not everything can be regulated only by administrative and ministerial acts. So there is a need for a strong law, first of all. Secondly, as I said, there is a need for other ministers backing and taking their share of responsibility. We need a strong multi-sectoral interministerial coordination mechanism. And thirdly, I think you need to put the economy over trade. The health over trade, sorry. That's the most important thing to do that. You know.
Dr. Nicogosian, thank you so much for having been with us on Issues and Answers, speaking to us passionately and giving us a lot of information vis-a-vis this issue of tobacco control. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Boyne wishing you a pleasant evening.
This is where we leave you for this edition of Jamaica Magazine. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, we value your feedback, so drop us a line. Send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You may also follow us on Twitter @JIS News. On behalf of the team here at the JIS, I'm Carrie-Ann Smith, wishing you a productive week.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.